Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast. And we've got play-up props here on a Thursday. 9 games in the NBA tonight after the 1 game back that welcomed us on Wednesday there with the Hornets. Nice win versus the Lake Show. Hit the cover in that one for the Hornets easily. Should have hit the money line apparently as well. But we've got player props in this episode. We've got best bets in the other one. And we're bringing both of those to you each and every weekday this season. So make sure to subscribe to that page. Don't miss any of the NBA action moving forward. Let's go ahead and jump into your first play-up prop here for Thursday night, Nate.
Trae Young's new sidekick, Caris LeVert, hot pickup in fantasy because the role is completely different now. Over 21.5 PRA just to cover your bases is what I'm going to take here. I mean, you can get it 20, I believe, if you want to pay the juice at different books. But I mean, he's had 2 opportunities basically since getting traded and getting in the lineup against the Hawks, and he scored 19 a game. He's shooting 60% on pull-ups and 75% on drives. That includes a matchup against the Orlando Magic, who he gets again here. It's kind of the tough bucket getter you need to break down an Orlando defense, which is going to be weaker because it doesn't have Jalen Suggs. And to be honest, they've actually allowed overs routinely to guards in the last 10 without Suggs, and they're bottom 10 mid-range, they're bottom 10 protecting the paint, all the things that LeVert can do. But even when they were full strength, like he's averaged this in his last 11 meetings against the Magic, 13.5, 4-4. And that's mostly a different role with Cleveland. Like, even though like the minutes and the usage might look kind of similar, he's just like, he's an option like 4 in terms of like a creator, right? On the Cavs, like they just have so many creators ahead of him. So you isolate the 3 times he was with Indy when he was more of a creator, and that matchup with Atlanta, he's averaging 18, 6, and 4 against the Orlando Magic in 4 matchups. Look at these last 2. He is clearly Trae's sidekick, as I'm saying. 27 front court touches. Trae is at 27.5. And he's been like hungry for boards to earn minutes because unlike Cleveland, where he only had a 10% defensive rebounding rate because you have Twin Towers just collecting everything, you got to get down there and mix it up with this Hawks team because no Nance, no Krejci tonight. No Jalen Johnson, obviously. Capella might come back, but I mean, they're not sharing the floor with Okongwu. And Okongwu is a dreadful defensive rebounder, as we've highlighted multiple times. So, like, guards and wings for the Hawks, you've got to get down there. You got to grab boards. And LeVert's grabbed 78% of his opportunities. He's had the second most opportunities in these last 2 to get boards. The assists might be more of a red flag because he has 4.5 on 5 potential. Does have some good secondary assists in there. But, I mean, they're only tacking on, like, 2 assists at Bet365, for example. Like, you get 15.5 PA on LeVert there. And I just think that overall, like, he's going to fill it up. He's going to fill it up here. I don't think books have quite adjusted to the new role for him.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you like adding the rebounds and assists, the only thing I would say for me is I'd personally be going with just the points. That's what I was eyeing for him, like 12.5. Still probably playable at 13.5. It's the 30 to 32 minutes without another creator. It's Trae Young, like Dyson Daniels, so many skills, as good of a passer as he is, still not a guy that can control the offense, doesn't necessarily have the handles to just stay up top and sort of keep the defense at bay and then get people into position, etc. Caris LeVert does, and he's a nice big wing, essentially guard, handler, defender. Like he does bring a couple other things that are going to keep getting him 30 plus minutes for this team. So I'll believe that Quinn Snyder loves him a ton and that he should be seeing the continued usage here, despite a pretty tough matchup. But let's go over to that Philly and Boston game. I'm going to go with Jason Tatum. I'm going to take his RA. I'm going to take over 13.5 rebounds and assists for Tatum. I knew I wanted to attack the boards against this team. I mean, he has a pretty good history, but he's also got a really good history of diming up against them. And he's covered himself when he doesn't get the rebounds, he's gotten the assists and vice versa. And that's really helped him get over the rebounds and assists against this team in 4 of his last 5 now, dating back to last season against this squad, averaging 17.5 rebounds and assists per game in the last 5 against Philly. And it's what I went to because Kristaps going to be battling with Joel. We talk about this all the time with Philly. You don't really want to take overs for any centers playing against Joel Embiid. They're going to get worn down on defense, and they're going to be pulled out from the rim. Then sometimes they're going to be pushed back under the rim by him. It's going to be a problem. So you get athletic wings who come in and are good rebounders, and JT is still averaging about 18.5 18.5 rebounds and assists per 36 minutes. And when I say per 36 minutes for someone like Jason Tatum, I'm talking about the entire game, because that's what he plays on the season, is 36 minutes per game. So I think he should be projected here for at least 15.5 rebounds and assists versus this team. He had 19 and 18 in the first 2 games this season. Embiid played in one of them, and then Kristaps actually left that game on on Christmas there. Kristaps left early, and Joel played the whole game there. They actually won that game against Boston. But Jason Tatum stepped up a ton with the 19 rebounds and assists in that one. The on the season here as well, 14 per game on the season. But like I've talked about this multiple times, it all goes up when he plays with everybody on the squad, right? You've seen him step up the scoring when Drew Holiday is out, when Jaylen Brown is out, when one of these dudes is out, Jason Tatum has taken like 22 shots, right? Like he's going off as much as he can. He's going to be the guy. When he's got everybody around him, he turns into a lot more of a facilitator. He's only at 20 points per 36 when he plays with the starters. And if you take Horford, swap him in there for KP instead, it's still about the same. It's like 21.5 per 36. He's facilitating, and he's doing a lot more of that finding guys. The potential assists are at the double digits on average against this team too, for against Philly. So a lot to like for Tatum in this one. I'm not scared of the points, except for I don't think it's like, we both do think this game is going to be a lot more defensive minded, especially for the Celtics. So let's not worry about this game going up and down. It's going to be slower pace. I'll just take the rebounds and assists as opposed to the points, which are high.
Yeah, well, I mean, he has a really good history of boarding up against the Sixers, because a lot of these games have gone under and they've been kind of played in the mud. And recently, the Sixers, what they have done is limit corner threes. I mean, the Celtics have shot an insane percentage when they have gotten corner threes against the Sixers, but I think that kind of plays into Tatum's game if you're going to play a more above the break type game, whether it's him scoring or getting in the crease there and finding somebody else to shoot, because that's just the way the Celtics play. Like they won't move it around the horn above the break. So that's a way to get dimes for sure. So yeah, I mean, I'm just going to go with the points for Nick Smith, who we talked about on that 1 game slate. It's 12.5 points now. It's down 2 points, and it's plus money at MGM. I mean, this might get gobbled up, but I don't think books are accounting for something here, which is LaMelo Ball is not going to play. Like, I mean, almost certainly, I don't think he goes on a back-to-back. I don't know if Mark Williams goes either. Like the Hornets, they got their win. They got a game that they cared about for various reasons. And now they're going to go right back to, I mean, they certainly know as plus 16 here in Denver on a back-to-back that they're not winning this game. But I think Nick Smith will get his healthy amount of time. I mean, at least DraftKings seems to indicate LaMelo is going to be out because he's minus 145 to get 3 assists is Smith. And he has just not even really done that when LaMelo's been out. And he's certainly not going to do it if he's in. And the difference here, I mean, last time out against Denver, he scored 19 on 7 for 11 with no LaMelo against Denver. KJ Simpson had 15 drives in that game. Miles Bridges also hogging the team high 21, but KJ now down in the G League because they have Elf on the shelf, right? And Elf Payton isn't going to be driving to score very much at all. Like he is purely a setup guy. So it's almost like you replace LaMelo, a guy who wants to light it up from deep and dance around with the ball, with just a setup point guard who's going to get Nick Smith some open looks. And I mean, he's shooting he was shooting 46% from 3 before the break. He hit 4 of 11 last night for all his points, despite the fact that he was doing very well on drives and pull-ups. But, now you get a Denver team that doesn't guard that stuff, right? They do not guard the rim. They do not guard initial ball handlers, off-guard scorers. And so he's plus 125 to hit those 3 threes again. That's intriguing for me with LaMelo potentially out. And, I mean, even if it's a blowout, you saw after the Denver game where they did lose, it was close. He earned 36 minutes per game, scored 23.5 in back-to-back double-digit losses. So it's like somebody's going to soak up these minutes and these shots here for the Hornets, even though they know they're going to lose.
Yeah, I don't know why they would play. Like I'm definitely projecting Melo to be out. I'm projecting Mark Williams to be a lean out as well. So I agree with you getting ahead of this, because this will get up to 14.5 points for him. That's been where it's been at for him when he plays without LaMelo and without Mark Will as well. Man, Mark Will really just fooled me last night. I really thought he was getting the minutes. The coach said he was getting the minutes. He said he couldn't believe that he wasn't taken to the team. Like the trade didn't go through. He was like, I just played 34 minutes last night. How did I not have a physical go through for the Lakers? I thought all that meant he was going to play. He kind of sold, and the coaching staff sold him too. But either way, I think Nick Smith is the play in this one as well. And it's tough for me to see Denver gearing up for this mentally. Like, how do you get ready for this game against a team on a back-to-back at home, and you're going to be playing their G Leaguers and Elf on the Shelf, like you said. Elfrid Payton is just a freelance assisting point guard. It's so funny. It's like, hey, you need a point guard for a couple of days that can get you anywhere from 10 to 22 assists. We got Elfrid Payton here for you. All right, final pick here. Going to go to the Santi system. We're calling it the Santi system. Santi Aldama, but just still not getting enough respect, man. So I'm taking him over 11.5 points. It's still plus money on FanDuel. I believe it's even money on FanDuel. And this has been 9.5. So like 11.5 is low. It ain't as low as it's been. So it's gone up for sure, because he's had a couple good games in a row, three of them in a row now, where he's gotten at least 14 points. This is a couple things here. One, if this wasn't a good matchup, I might still be down to just take Santi Aldama when he's playing with Ja Morant. That is a correlation that I don't know has been sort of brought to light, but with Ja Morant on the season, he's averaging more points than without Ja Morant on the season. So like, take that into consideration, that he's the backup center that comes in and plays alongside Ja, who is actually better with a pick and pop guy because he's not a shooter. And that's a big reason why Zach Edey is not meant for this game, I don't believe. Zach Edey is probably going to get run off the floor by guys like Miles Turner, Obi Toppin when he comes out there. Hell, even Thomas Bryant has taken two or three threes in each of his last games that he played without Miles Turner, who's back from injury. And so it's just not a good spot for a big dude like Edey to have to go out and guard Miles Turner, who's their best spot up shooter at this point. He's taking the most catch and shoot looks for the squad, is their center, right? So that's why it's not a good moment for Edey, who got played off the floor in their last game against this team. Santi had 15 points against Indy last game, played 25 minutes. And that's the key here, is that he gets 25 minutes when he plays in situations where Ja Morant is in the game, and they're playing teams that have stretch bigs. That's a huge part of this, is the stretch big thing. You look at the teams that Santi has played at least 25 minutes against in his last 10 games that he's played 25. You've got the Bucks, you've got the Cavs, you've got the Pacers, and there's a few more in there as well, where you're just like, oh, all these teams with dudes who shoot threes that are 7 foot tall or bigger, right? So that's why I love him in this game. At about 13 on the season, at 15 a game with Ja, at 11.5 or plus money, man. I'm not going to overthink this. I'm just going to keep going back to Santi Aldama.
Yeah, 250 total, right? It is the
Right.
highest of the year. Yeah.
Right.
And I don't think you can go wrong with an over, even though the Grizz are going to go deep here with their rotation. Yeah, a couple guys are out, like you mentioned, and Santi, yeah, routinely overlooked as a guy who's become a bigger part of this squad, like you said, even though they are closer to full strength at this point. So
Yeah.
no qualms here.
Yeah, it might scare you that Gigi's back. So is Edey. You got Brandon Clark. There's so many guys. I totally get it. In fact, both of these teams are annoying to bet on because they both have 15 guys playing 20 minutes a game. So it can be frustrating from that standpoint. But I think spot up shooters as well on both sides of the ball. Take the spot ups. You've got the third worst spot up defense in Memphis. You got the ninth worst spot up defense in Indy. Lots of opportunities for guys to score from the corners and the like. But that's all the time we have for you in this one. Definitely make sure to go ahead and subscribe to that page. Check out the best bets we have. We threw a player prop in there too, by the way, for those of y'all that haven't seen it. Stephon Castle is also on our radar big time tonight with Wemby out for the Spurs. So keep that one on your radar as well. Best of luck tonight. And until we see you next, happy betting.